I'm here in Moscow, Russia, 8 months after the sanctions started, in this lovely weather, to see in this mall if Western brands actually left or if that was not the case. Let's go check it out. Today, Russia is the most sanctioned country in the world with almost 3 times as many sanctions as Iran, and this is a great place to see it. This is the largest mall in all of Europe. It's got 440 stores and over 2 million square feet of space, and the largest cylindrical aquarium in the world. It has a Guinness World Record. My first impression is it's definitely not empty. Before I came to Russia, I thought all of the Western brands left, but obviously it's not true. We're here today to show you how Western companies are still here making money during the sanctions. Watch to the end to see how Russia rebranded Starbucks. Some brands just rebranded, like Reserved became Re, but they didn't get rid of all of the Reserved signs, and Reserved is still on the tags of the clothes. You can see the shelves are completely full. One really interesting thing I saw was that they just put little X stickers next to all of the stores that were closed and had left because of sanctions. Apparently H&M had left but has since returned, along with Obi and Reserved, which I showed you earlier. Stores like Uniqlo and Zara remain closed, along with Puma. But you can still find the shoes just next door in this sneaker store, along with a lot of other Western brands. The North Face is doing just fine. Adidas was completely closed, but what's so weird is that they left branding all over the shuttered store, like an ad for the brand. And you could also find Puma and Adidas shoes at the largest sports store in Russia, Sportmaster. Let's go and see which brands actually left Russia and completely closed their stores in this mall. The first I noticed was Decathlon, which is a European sports store, along with Pull & Bear, which is Spanish, Bershka, and Stradivarius. While Zara had left, they did leave window displays of their clothes, and the sign said they were temporarily closed, not permanently closed, like they'd be back soon. Almost every store had a sign like this in the window. H&M was advertising their sale like it was a reopening event. Their store is so big that it takes up 2 stories of the mall. All these people were shopping for 3 for the price of 2. Uniqlo was completely closed. Armani Exchange was open. Tommy Hilfiger and Swatch were both closed. Levi's had rebranded as J&S, but very thinly because they still sell Levi's. Polo Ralph Lauren was open, but sad as usual. Boss was closed, but still had all the clothes on the shelves. Lacoste and Echo were both thriving, along with New Yorker. I'm so tired. Let's get coffee in the rebranded Russian Starbucks. They barely changed the logo at all. All they did was put a Russian hat on it. The drinks were just as expensive as Starbucks, but they did put their new logo on these disgusting looking desserts. Without the Starbucks brand, people were still lining up for the overpriced coffee. They still write your name on the cup. It says Thomas. This is the Russian S. It's so mediocre. I can't even tell you how bad it honestly is. It definitely still looks like a cup of Starbucks coffee if you're not paying attention. The lids are written in English, hot coffee, but it's in Russian at the bottom. I'm letting Nastia finish it because the value coffee is much better. That costs $1 down the street. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It was a successful business model from the beginning. Why change it at all? Now let's go check out the electronics stores and see how the sanctions affected them. They rebranded the iStore as Restore, a premium reseller, which was promoting the iPhone 14 for $2,000. They were also selling AirPods and MacBook Pros for almost $4,000. And you could take your electronics into the service center. Samsung hadn't changed anything about their flagship store because they're not subject to the sanctions as an Asian company, along with Huawei. In terms of cosmetics, almost every brand was still available at a reseller. Also, Lush was open, and L'Occitane just rewrote their name in Russian. Swarovski closed their stores, but just next door there was a line for Sokolov, which is a Russian jewelry brand, which wrapped all the way around the store. My favorite rebrand was Cube World, which was the Lego store. They even had an Apollo 11 lander, which I thought was funny because we were in Russia. Nothing had changed in the store, obviously. It was all the same as the old Lego store. The most interesting thing was that all of the boxes said that they were imported to countries like the United Kingdom, but then they must have been shipped to Russia and they just put a little sticker in Russian on the side. I thought it was very funny that next door at Adidas Kids, they still had a Lego ad in the window. Blogging about Russian sanctions is hard work, to be honest, and I was hungry, so I went to the food court to check it out. Costa Coffee didn't stop for even a moment. Baskin-Robbins still had 23 flavors of delicious ice cream, and Burger King was absolutely packed. Now we're gonna walk around this Russian supermarket and see what's changed because of the sanctions, and if there's even products on the shelves. There was obviously no shortage of food. Every shelf was so stuffed, food was literally falling off. There's an abundance of fruit from Asia, North Africa, Latin America, and even the Middle East. Even though it's the middle of the winter, they have every kind of fruit that you could possibly imagine. On the soda aisle, there wasn't any Coca-Cola because they left Russia under the sanctions, but there was a lot of imitators like Mind-Boggling Cola and Jumbo Cola, which has a very provocative subtext. They have just cola. And over here, Everyday Cola, which looks like it wasn't even branded. Really low effort there on their part. They packaged Cool Cola in bottles that look like they're made for beer to make it extra cool for the hip kids. And because Fanta's made by Coca-Cola, they changed it to Fancy. Sprite is now a Street. It looks a lot like they ripped off the Subway logo when they made this packaging. They have all the kinds of beer you can imagine, like Budweiser, Kronenberg, Leffe, a bunch of foreign brands that if you're American, you won't recognize. Kozel is Czech, Tuborg is Danish. They still import a lot of European cheeses like Gorgonzola, Parmesan, Brie, blue cheese, but the prices are about 40% more than before the war. Candy almost didn't change at all. They've got M&M's, Skittles, Tic Tacs, Snickers, Mars bars, Bounty, and almost every other kind of packaged food that you can imagine. One interesting fact is that it's hard to get the green ink under sanctions. So first they switched to a box with much less printing, and now it's a completely white box for juices. Another thing that really changed is that there isn't any mint-flavored mouthwash. Everything's made out of strange herbs that I don't recognize, like flowers, juniper, and what they call balsam. 6 Gillette razor blades is almost $50 at this point, and it's 20% off. Razor blades were always expensive in Russia, but now it is ridiculous. I can't believe it. By the way, that was Auchan, which is one of the largest grocery stores in all of Europe, like Carrefour status. The question of whether or not the sanctions are working is still up for debate. I'm not going to make any statements because I don't get involved in politics. But if you like this video, go and check out my other video where I go and try rebranded McDonald's in Russia.